Meanwhile, African champions Senegal, they're in danger of missing their inspirational coach Aliou Cisse for their round of 16 clash with England tomorrow. Cisse was not at training and he left his assistants to face the media alongside the team's reserve keeper Alfred Gomis. Coach Regis Bogai says that it's nothing to worry about. Cisse will be pitchside tomorrow. But Benjamin Lashoro, he's on the ground and he has the latest for us. He was also at the team's final training session. Benji, good to be speaking to you all the way from Qatar. Very good evening. What's the latest on Aliou Cisse? It will be a very sad day if he had to miss the round of 16 match.
Yeah, good evening, Boucher. There's concern all around the Senegalese camp, obviously, because the coach was not at training today, and what we hear is that he hasn't been feeling well for a couple of days now. There is all sorts of speculation going on around the journalists, the rumor mill as to what is happening, what's the nature of Aliou Cisse's illness, but something that we cannot confirm at this point. But we are keeping our ear and eyes on the ground, and we'll be able to hopefully tell by tomorrow morning or as the day progresses. But it would be a huge, huge blow. It was already a huge blow, of course, to not have him at training. The match day -1. Obviously, you want to have your coach there. You want to look at just polish up your preparations for the next day. And facing England is not something that they would have wanted. They wouldn't have wanted this sort of distraction heading into that match. It surely, to a certain degree, plays in their minds.
Yeah, is that what's raising concerns as well, Benji, that we don't actually know what the problem is? You know, usually if it's a cold or a bout of COVID-19, it would be said up front, wouldn't have to wait and try to find out through the grapevine what the problem is. But at the moment, all you have is the assistant coach saying he's fine, he will be in training, or rather he will be pitch side for the match, but he wasn't in training and we still don't know why.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even be surprised, Boucher, if Aliou Cisse doesn't make it to the dugout tomorrow. If the coach is able to get out of the hotel room and make it to the match on Sunday, you would think that an important day, which is perhaps more important than match day, which is match day -1, where he'll get to have a final physical interaction with the players and get to bark instructions from right there up close with the players, he would take up that opportunity. Because on match day, basically he's just going to sit at his bench or just in his coach's technical area and not be able to do anything about particular situations. So it's a very important training session to miss. So for me, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't make it to the match itself against England. But for now, that is just speculation. It's something we cannot confirm, but it's a huge concern among even the Senegalese media who were at the training ground today.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is the round of 16, Benjamin, so there isn't much that they'll look to change going into this game. They would have already been set in the ways, the Senegalese. But what do you think that will do to their players to not get instruction from the coach on match day -1?
Yeah, he would have spoken to his assistants and told them exactly what he wants from whichever player, and he will, in all likelihood, meet with them at the hotel this evening, at dinner, in the morning, at breakfast, and all of that, pre-match meals. He'll meet with them, but it's not the same as when you are in that final training session ahead of such an important match. And the players will definitely feel that. If you're at a major international tournament like this, the person who's leading you, you want them to be doing that at all times. And suddenly, if he doesn't, you tend to feel like they feel like orphans in all likelihood at the moment, the Senegalese players. Remember, they also lost their talisman, Sadio Mane, ahead of the tournament. So one of their leaders, one of their major leaders, happened to not be able to come to the tournament, and then losing their coach in their first knockout match would be a big, big blow. And I wonder how much it'll play on their minds, or how far the extent of this will be in their minds, because definitely to a degree it will play in their minds. And hopefully he's feeling much better tomorrow morning, and he'll be able to be in the dugout for the match.
Yeah, I think the whole of the continent is hoping that, Benjamin, that it's not too serious of an illness facing the Senegalese coach at the moment. Let's talk about that game. Of course, the Netherlands just advanced to the last 8. We've got another game shortly with Argentina and Australia playing. But let's focus on that Senegal and England round of 16 clash. How do you think the two teams will shape up for this one?
Yeah, I think it'll be more of the same of what we've seen at the tournament. England, they started the tournament emphatically scoring a lot of goals. I think, excuse me, most of their forwards in that match, in their opening match of the tournament, they scored goals, which was a very good sign for Coach Gareth Southgate. So I think they'll go with more of the same, tried and tested. Normally, when teams play in their last group matches and having qualified already, they'll give the fringe players a chance to play for them to also get tournament football in case something happens to the starters, the starting 11 that the coach has at his disposal. He wants to maintain the match fitness of the fringe players. But going into the knockout phase, knowing that you lose, you go home, Gareth Southgate will not gamble with anything. He'll go with the tried and tested. Marcus Rashford has hit form at just the right time for England. He hadn't been in the national team for a long time, and he will definitely want to prove a lot of doubters wrong, that he deserved to be in the national team as Gareth Southgate picked him. But he's already done that, hasn't he? He's already scored goals at this tournament, and a lot of people will eat humble pie who didn't want him perhaps to be in the team. So I think Southgate will go with that lineup of him, Sterling, Foden, maybe all of those, Bellingham. He'll go with those tried and tested players. As for the Teranga Lions, Aliou Cisse, whether he's there at the stadium or not, but he'll have a lot of influence on how they shape up. And I'm also expecting them to go with what they trust, what they know, because there is little to no margin for error when it comes to the round of 16, because they'll be hoping to get to the semifinals. For the first time, remember, in 20 years, when Cisse himself was a player, and they came to within a whisker of going into the semifinals in South Korea and Japan.
Yeah, let's reverse engineer this throw forward or look forward to the rest of the games, Benji. Tonight, we've got Argentina coming up against Australia. The Argentines haven't looked as sharp as we thought they might coming into this encounter. Missing a bit of a spark. Do you think that there could be something in this game?
Yeah, I think the story for the journalists, for the media, would definitely be Messi crashing out of the World Cup so early. It's relatively early. You would say, looking at where the knockout stage is, it would be a script for the media, certainly, but for him, it's something that, looking at this tournament and perhaps his final major tournament, he'll want to make a huge impact. And I think he'll be pumped up going into this match against Australia. He'll definitely not want to lose to another sort of minnow, if I can put it like that, because he lost already to Saudi Arabia, or Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia, which was a huge international story. And losing to Australia would be a massive, massive blow to his legacy as well. Messi would always be known as that massive player who was hugely talented, but a perennial underachiever at international level. And there's a lot of comparisons that are always drawn between Lionel Messi and Diego Maradona in Argentina. The difference between those two is that Maradona has a medal that Messi so desperately longs for, which is the World Cup medal. And he came close in 2014, of course, but he hasn't done that. So I think he'll be pumped up for this match. And hopefully for him and Argentina, they don't play the occasion more than the match itself. I had an opportunity earlier in the day to speak to some Australian fans, and they feel like for them, there's no loss. They go into this match, they win, they are happy. If they lose, they were playing Argentina. So the pressure is all on Argentina in that match. Australia has nothing to worry about.
Do you think that will be a similar sentiment shared by the United States supporters after tonight's defeat against the Netherlands?
Of course, they'll feel like that. Obviously, any team wants to win and go through to the next round, but they couldn't. And I think consolation for the U.S. supporters will be the fact that they are hosting the next tournament in 2026, and they will try and build from their performances now to 2026, build on that. The young son of the Liberian president, Ware, is playing for the USA, and he will obviously be another big star for them. He showed flashes of brilliance, especially in their first match of the tournament. So he'll be one of the big stars of the USA in 2026, and they'll be hoping for a better performance. But I don't think they'll be disappointed that much now. They didn't think they're world beaters anyway. And coming up against the Netherlands was always going to be tough. They were in the final of the World Cup as recently as 2010. So losing to them, although they were not in the 2018 edition in Russia, is nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, well, let's now move it off the pitch, Benjamin. You are, of course, in Qatar. You've had a chance to be among the fans. I'm sure you're one of the fans at times. A lot was said in the build-up to this tournament. A lot was said about a lot of things in Qatar, and I don't want to go into detail. You'll know what I'm talking about. How have you found it as a foreigner, a traveler in that region?
It's honestly not been easy. I think there is definitely some of the things that were said about the country that we have found to actually be true. And I personally had an incident when I went to one of the shopping malls the other day, and I was made to feel that I am not at home. I had an incident in a pharmacy where I was basically, by all accounts, treated a very xenophobic treatment, so to speak. So I think there's a lot of things that we will look at after this tournament, and there'll be talking points definitely for years and years to come. And I think FIFA will still be will have fingers pointed at them for even bringing the World Cup to Qatar, which is not a footballing country. That was the first argument. But as the build-up, as we got closer and closer to the tournament, there was human rights issues, there was LGBTQ plus issues, and I think it's some of those things that Qatar has to look at themselves and really, really try to remedy going forward.
Yeah, well, lovely roundup there by Benjamin Leshoto. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Benji. I love the work. Continue to do it. We look forward to seeing more of you over the next couple of days.